Hi everybody, welcome back to the Energy Stoners Cafe and Talk with TQ. As always, I try to bring the most interesting people to you that I can find on the planet. Tonight I have a really special guest. I've known him a bit for a year. He's a local, he's a neighbor, he's a creative in the city of Peekskill, and his name is Paul Jm. And I'm going to talk to him about his new album and his journey of creativity. So Paul, welcome to the show. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thanks for the invite that I forced upon you.
No, you didn't force it upon me. No, we don't do interviews we don't want to do. No. Yes, you knew somebody very special, and I said, okay. And I said to her, I know who he is. I know him.
All right, cool.
Yes. So tell my audience about your latest album. I'm going to start that way, and then we'll weave in and out of your interesting background.
So the record is called Do We Need Another Psycho? That's a title I came up with while writing one of the songs. And it just kind of came out, and I've seemed to work it into, it's just a lot of goings on in the world. That's where the title comes from. But I'm not going to get into that right now. And so it was a great project. I had really great people working on it, which I'll name, if that's cool.
Sure, please, feel free.
Wayne Winarchy in Bedford Hills was the first engineer that I worked with. Followed up with that was Mike Ciotta and Ray DeTone. So I recorded with Wayne, and I recorded the remaining tracks with Mike Ciotta, and then mixing, Ray DeTone came in. And it was a great experience working with such pros, and the sound is just amazing. I mean, it took these guys have ears, and they're looking for something, and when they hit it, it's like, oh my God, the depth is really cool. So I'm really happy with the way the record came out. I think it's a really professional job, and I did most of the instrumentation on it. I've had a couple of guests.
Guest vocalist,
guest vocalist Jeff Laston, who I'm in a band with called Jazzmo. He sang on the song "Blame," and Chris Olness. I don't know if you know Chris Olness.
I might know him to see him.
Yeah, he's a Broadway trombone player, and so he does a trombone solo on it. And other than that, I did the drums, bass, guitars, vocals, all the arranging, and.
So you're like an all-around musician.
Well, I do drums, bass, and guitar.
Well, that to me is all around. That's
I got the back line if you need it.
Yeah, okay. But that's 3 instruments, and I always find that fascinating. Musicians are fascinating to me just to begin with, because it's kind of like people like to think that they know it's all right brain, but with musicians it's definitely right and left together.
Well, I'll work on that part.
Yeah.
I know one side is clicking all on 8 cylinders, but I'm not sure about the other side.
Yeah. So I've seen you walk around town carrying a guitar, and I've also seen you play the drums.
Yeah.
So how did you end up becoming this I will call versatile musician? And you write as well, I understand?
Well, yeah. Started early age playing drums.
Okay.
And played for a couple years. I was in my first band when I was 13. And we just did 70s rock and roll. And then a couple years later, I decided to go to guitar. So because I was teaching myself guitar all along this time, and I decided to switch to guitar. And then I sold my drums, and I played guitar for years. And then I was recording some stuff at home, so I bought a bass, and I started learning to play bass. And so then just kind of gelled together. And the way I write very slowly. And I'm usually, I don't have a lot of people around me when I do that, so that's how I end up playing the instruments, because, I arrange all the stuff in my head, and the last thing I'm gonna do is tell somebody how to play something. So I figured, what, I'll do it myself.
Nice.
Which I would rather not do again. I want to have a band next time. I definitely want to have people and have their take. On things.
You've had a couple of bands too, or
been
part of a couple of bands.
Well, yeah, I'm in 3-4 bands right now. Yeah, and we play, Birdsall House, Gleason's, Division Street, wherever we can. So we're play around.
Yeah, so you're real Peekskillian.
Yes.
And it's sort of a mecca for artists here. performing artists in particular seem to get a lot of attention in this town.
It's a small town.
It's a small town city.
Yes, and moving up here in 2010, I think really brought me back into music because I wasn't doing too much. I think I even had a drum set when I moved up here.
From where?
I moved from Westchester, though I lived in Connecticut for 20 years of my life. I grew up in Westchester, so White Plains area, Thornwood.
Okay. I know the area very well.
So. So moving up here, I got to meet people, and then I started, getting into bands, and now, these, CDs I've been doing up here are a result of me meeting the people I've met, being influenced, and, little friendly competition while, this band's writing some stuff, get my juices going and, put out something. So it's, great camaraderie and, it really changed my life, being up here, and it's
Really?
it's cool.
Tell me how it changed your life.
Well, basically getting back into painting, getting back into and playing, and just really feeling comfortable about what I'm doing, and with just a lot of support. So I don't think if I didn't move up here, I don't think this CD would definitely not exist, and I don't think my last one would. I just, being up here just changed, so much because it's all around. You just go everywhere.
It's everywhere.
In the summer, you got bands, outside, the Birdsall House, the Coffee House. You walking around and on Division Street, and there's music, no matter where you go.
It's very true.
And so, I tried to escape it, but it kept dragging me back in. And but yeah, so it's just the environment is really cool.
So you feel much more comfortable here with what you do. I'm familiar with where you came from in White Plains. I lived there for a while. It's a nice place.
Yeah.
But there's something about Peekskill that's just very artsy.
Yeah, well, it's very different than White Plains. I feel very, the nightlife in White Plains was not for me. It was very different. Up here, it's very just casual. The people don't seem to have as many hang-ups or. Outwardly. I
know, it's probably my eye roll that was heard around the world.
But it's like I said, I feel pretty open, and that I can allow myself to be, Well,
you have always been very engaging, very easy person to approach. That's been my experience knowing you for a little bit,
I try to keep that.
It's there. So tell me, what do you find actually inspires you to write? And you did mention painting as well.
The writing is interesting because I can write, chords and melody for hundreds of songs. That it's the lyrics. So what inspires me is when something happens, a happening, say as COVID or something like that. And I'm sure a lot of people wrote about that. I have a song, a very abstract take on the pandemic, which is going to be a single I'm going to be releasing early next year. I recorded it with this session, so it's already recorded.
So it's on here?
It's not on there.
Oh, it's not on here
I left
yet.
it off. I'm going to release it as a single.
Okay.
And there's Guns, which I have a song on here that, just like guns are, there's so many of them and they're being used a lot.
That's
and
true.
it's a sad thing. So I think of things like that. I even make up some stories, a couple of these are just fiction. But they come from a feeling, and I'll just write a story around there, but the feeling is real.
Yeah.
And just the words around it, I've made up a story to support the feeling. And but lyrics take me the longest. They take a really long time for me because I just don't write stuff I don't care about.
Right. But your music, do you write the music yourself? Or
Yes.
Okay. I think that's extraordinary, people need to recognize, non-artistic people should recognize the gift that artists have. I find musicians very fascinating. So how long have you been into music? You said since you were a kid you had a drum set, but yet when you came in here you picked up my guitar and played it very beautifully.
Oh, well,
Tell me about
okay.
all that.
Well, I play guitar a lot because I can't play drums in my apartment.
Oh,
So I
like
end up with the
that.
guitar in my
Yeah.
lap, and that's how I write,
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And so, just watching, I'll be watching Cheers or something, and
Yeah.
with that guitar, and I'll come up with a melody. I put my little memo recorder on my phone.
Yeah.
So I have like, 1,000 little, ditties that I record, and I
Yeah.
hold on to them, and, because, sometimes there's magic, that just happens. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
so,
Do you find that the gift you have is somewhat genetic, or is it specifically from experience? Because sometimes people that like you that are just so talented, it's in the family, it's in the blood, it's in the DNA.
I think on my mom's side, I think her father, my grandfather, which I've never met, I think played violin.
Okay.
And my mom dabbled in art. She was an artist.
Okay.
And so I think that's where I got the visual side from. But as far as music, I mean, I was just determined to do it. I mean, it was just something I was driven to do.
Yeah.
Don't know why, and I'm glad I did.
I'm glad you did too.
But I grew up, around, in the late '60s, early '70s, and it was kind of a psychedelic time of life. So the music that was out, I really dug, Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And
It's like part of the soundtrack of our life.
yes, and I was just so attracted to it, and I couldn't, help just playing. And I think guitar started. My brother got a guitar for Christmas, and he ended up not playing it so much, and so I ended up picking it up. And
Okay, so it didn't go to waste.
didn't go to waste. And I bought this is a G chord, and the first time I saw that, I'm like, no way, my fingers can't do that, like no way.
But you made it happen.
I made it happen, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I learned a couple of chords after that, so I know a couple more.
A couple more chords. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. So what will we hear on this? I love the cover art on this.
Oh, thanks.
I love the color.
That's my
This
friend.
is the color I'm wearing is not really exactly my color, but this definitely is.
Cool. I'm very
love
happy
this.
with the way it came out.
It's beautiful. It makes you want to buy it. You want to look at it.
I wanted something, because usually I have graphics on my album covers, and I wanted human interaction this time. So I came up with this idea. And Liz, this is Liz on the cover, an awesome person. As soon as she came up to my studio, she was in character, and I was like, oh my God, and we hardly knew each other.
Yeah.
And she just like, bam, like went right into character, and it was, I was like, whoa, slow down, man. Like it was great.
Yeah, no, you got lucky on that one.
Yeah.
So I can see just by this post, she's very talented. And it says, do we need another psycho? Is that what it says?
Yeah.
Tell me how you came up with that title.
I was writing the song, which turned out to come out to be Blame, that's on the record. And during a pre-chorus part, when I was writing it, I had da-da-ba-da-da-da, and I just started filling in the blanks with, do we need another psycho? It fits so well, and I
Yeah.
didn't know really what I was going to do with it. But then I thought about what I was saying, and again with, just the guns and, between Putin and, now Israel and Hamas and
Yeah,
all
we're
this
at
stuff
war.
going on. It's like, do we need another cycle? I think not.
Yeah, yeah.
That is my point.
Right.
Because it's just, there are so many things going on. It's absurd. And it's just really, really weird. So that's where the title comes in from. What it has to do with the way I portrayed it was really just to get people to notice it,
Yeah.
and I love the attitude Liz has. It just reminds me of kind of very punky, but just cool. Everything about it is cool.
Is she a professional model?
No.
No, okay. She's just a person you know.
She sings, and she's just has a great aura about her. She marches to her own drum, and that's what I really like about her. I love talking with her, and she's
She's cool beans.
yeah, very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I think it's extraordinary that you're able to even incorporate another artist into your work, which is something I think that is good, because I think that as artists you have to collaborate. You know, it's like inevitable that you will at some point.
It's inevitable, yes.
You know, even if it's you just hire like, or you acknowledge people that are listening to your work or looking at your work. So you paint. Tell me what kind of things that you paint. Have you exhibited in Peekskill?
Yes, when I first moved up here, I wasn't painting immediately when I came up here, but I have a bunch of paintings. I used to show in the early 90s. I had a gallery in Soho, New York, representing me, and a gallery in DC.
Oh, wow.
So, I was doing paintings, kind of large scale, photorealism, a little bit surreal.
Really? You do photorealism?
Yeah, back in the day.
What made you stop?
It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. I love the outcome of it, but doing it was painstaking. Just all the detail and stuff. So then I started messing around with a little bit more abstract stuff. Much more simpler. Something like my paintings just take me like a month to do. And then I just said, I want to spend a couple hours. So I do actually have a piece in the PAA show at the Field this coming the 16th.
At the Field Library?
Yeah.
The 16th.
Is the opening. And I have a small painting called Mask, and it's a painting of, one of the COVID masks.
Yeah.
So I did it kind of realistic, but, quick realism. So when you look at it from a distance, it has a feel to it.
Yeah.
And I painted some like kitchen utensils, little things like old can openers and things like that. But and then I stopped doing that because I'm not painting a lot. And then, then I started pinstriping 2 years ago.
What is pinstriping?
Have you ever seen like hot rod cars and they'll have like little designs on them? So I bought the starter's kit and I started learning how to pinstripe.
Oh, wow.
And I've never done a car. I did maybe one. I actually did my old car, but I do guitars and I paint on aluminum panels.
You paint on aluminum panels.
Yeah, and it was it took like 6 months to even get a handle on it. It's really difficult, very difficult medium. So I struggle with it still, today.
So what kind of paint do you use on aluminum?
It's enamel.
Okay.
So enamel paint. Yeah, oil enamel.
Okay. Is it it's not like water, well, I don't know. Is it like watercolor? Once you put it down, it's done? Or can you correct it?
You have a little bit of time to take it off, with some mineral spirits. You have some time to take it off, but then after a while, it's there, and that's it. So
yeah, it's there to stay.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting medium to use, and I enjoy it, but it's frustrating.
I can imagine. Yeah.
So
you have to be very patient for a lot of things.
Extremely.
In art.
Yeah.
So you sort of exemplify the fact that it's not like automatic, but that there is some thought and work that goes into creating art, and you're doing more than one medium. Which I always found impressive, even though it's somewhat common among us artists, I think.
Yeah.
But I had no idea you were a painter, Paul.
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, it was almost like another life. And when I was living here, I did, very small paintings. Something I could do in 3 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
as opposed to like a big thing.
Yeah, project. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I focused, because I had a full-time job. I used to work at the World Wrestling Federation.
Oh, really?
I was the creative director there.
You have a really interesting background.
So
who knew?
I had a full-time job, and then at night I'd go into the studio and, paint for 3 hours, and, because I'd have it ready for a show. And so it was, like I said, I look back, I don't know how I could focus. I have no idea, because that isn't happening these days.
Sounds like you're very disciplined to me. You sound like
I can be. I can be.
It sounds like you're very disciplined to me. I'm impressed with that, because I think it's so easy to just like start something and just kind of lollygag around, and you just don't get started. So somehow you get your work done.
Yeah, that's why I started doing paintings that took quicker, because I knew I could finish it.
Yeah,
like if I started a big project, it would sit half finished.
Yeah.
That's it.
Wondering if anyone else knows that you're a visual artist as well.
Yeah, I mean, people, like I said, I have shown my work. I don't know do you remember Steve and Judith? They had the gallery above the chamber, where right next to Wilfredo is.
Vaguely, I remember. Yeah.
They used to have art shows, and I showed up there. Oh, at the Bean Runner, I had a show.
Yeah, that's a great venue.
Yeah. I had a show
Bean
there.
Runner. You know, we love Ted and Drew.
Yeah, yeah.
We do. That's a great place. They're such advocates of the arts.
Yes, no, they're great people. And
Yeah.
the work I showed was stuff I did in the 90s, so it was nothing new.
Well, it's new to us.
Yeah, right.
new
That's
to
what I
the-
figure.
Yeah, you
I
know-
just changed the date on the back.
No, you changed the date. I was advised by an older artist, don't put the date and stop putting the date on it. He says, okay. You know, so I stopped putting the date on it because you don't want to date yourself. You want it to seem fresh. That's what he said. I don't know. You know, I'm just like a humble artist. That would be me. But I'm so impressed. I had no idea that you did visual art.
Sure.
So tell me about the subject matter. What moves you?
With painting,
Yeah.
I usually deal conceptual. Everything I do is conceptual. Like when I do an album, there's a base theme along this album. You know, it's
Right.
not a story, but there's a base theme.
Yeah.
So when I used to paint for galleries,
Yeah.
I painted a lot of sheets, a lot of gray sheets with things floating off them. And then I got into painting nude models under sheets, so you saw no flesh, you just saw body shape.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And you know, and kind of like a hyper realism. So you know, and I'd make them float like off the background. So it was, and it was all about censorship. You know, it was about curiosity. You know, because people would feel that there's a body under these sheets, and I'm sure they're thinking, are they naked, or you know, or
I know, you're
or
wondering
what is it? You know,
Yeah.
so it was about it was more like based on curiosity. So that's what drove me. And then, like I said, the small paintings I did with just like kitchen appliances. I wanted to do a whole series, you know.
You'd still do it.
But I just, you know, stopped.
You went in a different direction.
Yeah, just, you know, and I might pick it up again, but, you know, right now I just stopped and I've been focusing. Because sometimes during the week I'll be up to 4 rehearsals, you know, with different bands. And so and I don't like to be at a rehearsal unprepared. So if there's homework, I have to do that to be there. So, you know, that really invaded my mind a lot. I mean, that kind of takes over.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing. You know, it's not a bad thing to
It's
have.
a positive thing to take over your mind.
Yeah.
I can think of some other things that wouldn't be so good, so positive. But that's very impressive to me. So tell me, you know, I'm just impressed that the fact that I did not know you were a visual artist. You know, well, you kind of explained why, but I think I can see by your album covers and the way you design them that your visual art, your tendency towards that really shows.
So I'm a graphic designer by trade. You know?
Yeah,
So
by
that's-
trade.
That's what I do for a living is graphic design.
Okay, so that's like your day job, so to speak.
Right.
No, I'm impressed with that. But you still have to have a mind for the aesthetic to be able to do that. Getting back to your album, your music, okay? Now, I listened to some of it. It's like kind of folksy and kind of edgy and, you know, has a little rhythm to it. You know, how would you describe it? Like, what would you put it in a category? Or was it just your own thing?
People have asked me about like what I do, and I can't describe it. But what I do like about this, and I didn't even notice until we were in the studio mixing it, is that it's a lot of grooves on it. I mean, most of the songs I don't even touch the other drums, it's kick and snare and hi-hat, you know, just to get that groove going, which I really wanted. I wanted the drums and the bass to be this thing that the instruments floated on top of.
Yeah.
So as far as you know, stylizing it so I'm not really sure where it fits. I think it's grooves with a melodic sense.
Yeah. Oh, that's I was thinking edgy.
Yeah. So
you know?
that's how I'm hoping it's, you know, it's perceived, and I'm sure people won't say those words, but I mean that's really what I want to get out of it, you know.
So, but it sounds like from what you were saying that you're basically self-taught with the music.
But everything.
With everything.
Everything.
So you did share that you taught yourself how to play the guitar because your brother didn't like the guitar that he got for Christmas,
Well.
and so you started playing. That's very impressive. I've seen it a lot in visual art, but in music, I find it very impressive. You know, so
Well, it's taken me years.
yeah,
It's taken me a long time.
I think that often people that are actually doing the art themselves, they don't realize how good they are. You know, and how, I mean, did you go to art school at any kind of school to learn any of this, or is everything
I hardly went to high school. I'm serious.
What?
I hardly went to high school.
Yeah, oh, you just sort of got...
I was in the building every day.
You were in the building.
Right. And teachers would run into me saying, "Where have you been?
Where are you? You got to get to class."
And so I just never like the idea of being taught something. So I taught myself to paint when I was doing the realism by going to Soho every week and looking at all the art. And that's how I taught myself to paint, just by looking and
well, that's
seeing
what I
various
call raw
techniques.
talent in my book.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just work very hard at whatever I want to do. I think that's the way I would describe it.
I see you very differently now that I know all of this. You know, not that I saw you in any negative sense, but it's now you seem more grandiose. I had no idea. You know, you just seem like, oh, there's another musician. They go to music school. They learn. You know. Now I know you're a visual artist. So how can my audience actually find you if they're on the internet? Can they find you anywhere in particular?
Music.
Anything.
I'm on music. I'm on most of the streaming services.
Okay.
Apple, Spotify.
Right. Okay.
Yes. So that art. I mean, Instagram. You know, have a lot of my pinstriping and some of my older paintings.
Okay.
So Instagram would be a place to see.
The pinstriping. That's interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot
to
of
me.
my pinstriping on Instagram.
Yeah. So you could pinstripe a car to make it look like really cool.
Well, I tried that once, and it's not as easy as people make it look.
Okay.
But I mean, I could. It's just that I'd probably need a lot more practice by doing it on a car, because the angles are different, and all that stuff. So it's
pick up a...
I do have a fender. I have a fender at home.
Yeah, you could practice on that. There you go.
Yeah.
So it's not an original idea.
Yeah.
No, for me, for
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I'd love to watch you do that sometime.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it means I'm impressed. You know, you're an artist, a visual artist, a musician, and you have a...
I was a playwright.
Another thing.
I published a book on Amazon.
Oh, good.
Called
Wow.
7 Short and Shorter Plays that I wrote.
Nice.
And I've had some of them performed in New York and
Nice.
a couple of different venues down there.
Cool. Well, you're focused on the music right now, it's obvious.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know, and I think that's a really great thing, Paul.
Thank you.
I think that people will really enjoy hearing your music, and this is the album. This is the album, the most recent, which I happen to love the color because this is a great color. It's the color of love. It's the color of passion. But yet it's pink, so very feminine. That's good. I like it. I like it a lot. And I thank you so much for sharing everything with me.
Oh, great.
You know,
thanks.
I would never have even thought, and you were referred by our friend, Carol Bash.
Carol, yes.
And we
Thank
love,
you, Carol.
everybody loves Carol. Yes. And I thank you so much for coming on. You're the best.
Well, thanks.
I knew
thanks,
you were
Toni.
cool beans, but I didn't know that you were the best. Yes, there you go. But thank you so much.
Hey, it was
and
awesome.
best of luck. And tell the audience where they can buy your work, where they can purchase your music.
Yes. Do We Need Another Psycho and Lost My Way are available on Spotify and most streaming services. As far as purchasing Bandcamp, you can buy a download, so you have a digital copy. And I have some hard copies just because it's a good calling card.
Yeah.
But that's basically it. But please go to Spotify, look for Future One.
Future One.
Lost My Way and Do We Need Another Psycho. And I also did a cover of When I'm 64 by the Beatles.
Ooh.
My own version of it.
Wow. Okay. So there we have it.
Yep.
Yeah, you're out there. You're all over the place. Thank you, Paul. You're the best. Yay. No,
Thank
to
you.
you. No.
you.
You're good. And you're an animal lover, too. I know that. That's just a side thing. You know, and animals love you. Okay, so come on again. We're going to talk more. There's more to talk about.
Sure.
You know, it's all about timing. When the timing's right, you'll be back here. If you choose to.
Yeah. Oh, no,
Yes.
this is great. Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
Thanks so much for coming on. And so I'm going to say goodbye to the audience. You know that I'm going to come back again with another fabulous person and one of the most interesting people I can find on the planet once again. And I really appreciate you coming to see the Energy Stoners Cafe and talk with TQ. And so I wish you farewell, be well, be nice. See you next time. Bye-bye.